Some of the more common arrangements when it comes to dating are the familiar exclusive dating, where you're just dating that one Filipina, that one woman, and your goal is to devote your time just to her and her only to you, so that the two of you can figure out if you're looking at a long-term commitment later. But first, you really got to get to know each other, and you're each willing to have an exclusive relationship where neither of you is seeing anybody else. So that's one way to date, and again, to accomplish that objective. Now, another approach to dating is what I call recreational dating. That's where you are not looking for any kind of relationship to grow out of it. You're simply meeting women, going out with them for just the fun of it. You're just out there to enjoy the chase and the newness of it all. And maybe this week it's this girl, next week it's that girl. But there is no goal to develop any of this into anything lasting. Again, it's just recreational. So that's another way to date. But another way to date, and that's what we're going to look at here today, is the approach known as friends with benefits. Now, for a lot of you guys, with the situation back in the West, you're lucky if you can even scrape up a date that's worth going out with, even on a regular basis. So the idea of having a woman who is agreeable to skip all the dating pretenses, maybe they do or don't want to spend time with you at the movies or a dinner, but really, when you boil it all down, you're friends with benefits. They will come on over, you have needs, they have needs, kind of like the Bob Seger song, I used her, she used me, neither one of us cared, working on the night moves. So for many of you, the idea of having a friends with benefit arrangement with a woman might seem far-fetched. It might seem like, oh, well, that's something only some guys ever experience in their life. But when you're in the Philippines, for all the talk about all the women who do want marriage and do expect an exclusive relationship, there are women in the Philippines who are not right now, maybe a year from now, but right now, there are women who at this point in their life, they don't want marriage either. They don't want anything serious. Whatever their reasons are, they're in a headspace that they don't want the commitments of a boyfriend. Maybe they just got through a bad breakup and they want to just rebound from one guy to the next, but not in a serious way. Whatever their reasons are, there are plenty of Filipinas who are okay with the friends with benefits arrangement. Now, if this is something that you want to do, you have to be upfront about it. You cannot start dating a Filipina on the pretense of acting like you want a serious relationship and then try to convert it into a friends with benefits arrangement. That's too big a course change. She's just going to freak out on you. What you have to do is make your intentions known and tell them, preferably first date, well, I'm not really looking for a relationship. And of course, her question is going to be like, well, then why are you going out with me or anyone else? And that's your opening to say, well, I just want some good companionship with somebody I can trust. I just want somebody that there's no commitment. Now, this is where you have to look at her response. Either she's going to be turned off by that idea. Okay, if she is, let her go. She's not a candidate. She's obviously not a candidate for a friends with benefits relationship. Don't even try to manipulate her into it or anything like that. Just let it go on a next date with some other Filipina until the reaction you get is they're like, well, I'm in the same headspace too. I'm not looking for commitment. I just want somebody on my Friday night that I can spend the weekend with and forget about the rest of the week. None of these heart emoji filled private messages, none of this stuff. They just want their needs met physically. So the first thing I want to share with you is that if this is what you want, if what you want is a friends with benefits relationship, you need to be upfront about it at the very beginning. And you may get some rejections, but that's okay. There's plenty of Filipinas in the Philippines. Go out with another one and another one until you get one who is like-minded, and now you're both on the same page. Now, before you go thinking, well, that's got to be the best arrangement. It's got to be just so awesome. All the benefits of a girlfriend without any of the hassles. It sounds really great. It's what I kind of liken to as a person that goes into a tray of cupcakes and just licks the icing off of each one and leaves behind the cupcake. They don't want the cupcake. They just want the icing. But there's more to it than that. One of the things you can expect to happen is you go to the trouble, you date 3, 4, 5, whatever Filipinas until you find one that is okay with a friends with benefits arrangement, and you really do become friends. Maybe not every single time you get together, you end up in bed. You may find yourself just enjoying their company, knowing that they're not going to fall in love with you and you're not going to fall in love with them. But they're a great gal pal to go out and just hang with, go to the beach with. Maybe they even help hook you up with other girls to go out with. And everything seems really good. And you get to a point where you're like, oh, this is pretty awesome. This is excellent. Friends with benefits, it's great. But here's what you need to expect. I know this because I've had friends with benefits in the United States and in the Philippines. And this much is to be expected and is consistent. The day will come that you get really settled into a groove with some woman on a friends with benefits basis, and then all of a sudden it comes to an end. Just when you're really getting into it, next thing you know, you're being ghosted. You know why? Because now she's met somebody else that she's either having an even better friends with benefits arrangement with. Could be for any reason. Could be she finds him more attractive. Could be that he spends more money on her, takes her to other places, takes her to Thailand and Vietnam, whatever. I mean, for whatever reason, next thing you know, you're in her rearview mirror. She doesn't have time for you anymore. Now, one of the reasons she may end the friends with benefits, and I've had this happen, is she said she didn't want a commitment. She said she didn't want a relationship. But then she meets a guy that she considers a catch, that would make good husband material. And next thing you know, she's in an exclusive relationship with that guy. And she will now block you and anybody else she was sleeping with. She's going to go into an exclusive relationship with that guy. Now, you can, depending on your level of perseverance, just dust yourself off, go out, date another set of women until you find a new friends with benefits, if that's really what you want to continue with. But you're just going to have to accept the fact that some really good women are going to slip through your hands because the entire friends with benefits arrangement is built on the foundation of non-exclusivity. You're not only going to be sleeping with her, and she's not only going to be sleeping with you. She's still going to be dating other guys, just like you're going to continue to date other women in addition to the friends with benefit thing that you got going with her. So the fact that it's not exclusive means at any given time, she may meet some other guy and drop you. And you're going to just have to accept it. You're just going to have to stand there and watch her go build a life with some other guy. Now, the next element about this whole friends with benefit thing is, again, because it's built on non-exclusivity, you have to take into account the whole issue of STDs. I've talked before about the necessity of using condoms to avoid pregnancy, unless you've already had a vasectomy. But in this context, even if you've had a vasectomy, if you're dating other women and she's dating other guys, and then you two are hooking up every Friday with no commitments, viruses and diseases have no knowledge or care about how your dating arrangements are set up. You will still get an infection either from one of the girls that you're seeing on the side or one of the guys who infected her the other days of the week when you're not with her. So if you're not in an exclusive relationship, you need to be wearing a condom. Aside from the pregnancy issue, unless you want to pick up a bug, you already know she's not exclusive to you and you haven't been exclusive to her. I'm sure somebody can sit down and figure out the math. If you're seeing 2 or 3 other girls and she's seeing 2 other guys, somewhere in there, there's a calculation for how many times in a week these combinations intersect and make opportunity for one infected person to infect everybody. Because you also have to take into account each of the 3 guys that maybe she's sleeping with. Those guys are sleeping with a bunch of other women. So as you can see, the odds of picking up something can go up very fast. So do I recommend the Friends with Benefits arrangement? I've tried it. I've had at least 4 of these arrangements. Again, 1 in the United States, 3 in the Philippines. In the beginning, it's all fun and everybody's having a great time, but it will come to an end. And it'll come to an end when you're least expecting it. And if you're a guy who has never had a vasectomy, even using the condom, the day may come that she comes to you and says, "Oh, well, I'm pregnant with your baby." Now, she may be pregnant from any one of the other 3 guys that she's been seeing. And now you got this hairball to deal with. Waiting for this baby to be born and then getting a DNA test done. If you think that's all there is involved to it, I've talked to guys in these situations. Between the time she finds out she's pregnant and the time she actually has the baby, there's 9 months there where she's just going to assume or claim, truly or falsely, that you are the father and she needs money from you to cover the fact that she can't go to work, that she needs to go to the hospital visits, she needs to have updates and prenatal vitamins and all these other expenses that come up with her being pregnant, even though no paternity has actually been established. So you don't want that kind of a hairball either. So do I recommend it? Well, again, all I can say is it's a whole lot of fun when it starts, but it can get very complicated, very fast. There is risk involved. I do not recommend it. I know it sounds like the best thing since sliced bread, but honestly, the best arrangement you can have is date one woman at a time, be exclusive with her, and it eliminates these other random factors from complicating your life.